What's going on, guys? Jacob Ober here. I know it's been kind of really weird lately because there hasn't been anything sports related going on, and it's been hard for me to figure out things to do and talk about on this channel. So there's been some gaps between videos, but I did come up with another idea here, and this is one that I've kind of been wanting to do for a while. I just never really got to it, but it'd be the perfect time now. And since I know a lot of you guys are big Packers fans, I decided to do this for the Packers, but basically, I want to give you my Mount Rushmore of Packers players, only including players, not coaches or anything like that. Obviously, Vince Lombardi would be on this list if we were including all Packers all time. But I just wanted to do players because I don't know. I feel like including coaches is kind of cheating, but I don't know. So without further ado, I'll give you my list, and of course it's Mount Rushmore, so that means there's four heads or four players that I would pick from the four greatest Packers players in my opinion. That's pretty much what this is. But for certain, obviously Brett Favre's got to be on that Mount Rushmore no matter what. I mean, he brought Green Bay back from the dead. They were a failing organization, a team that was looking like they might even fold in the late 80s, early 90s when, things were just going really rough for them. And then along comes Brett Favre and Ron Wolf, of course, the GM who traded for him. So bringing Brett Favre to Green Bay ushered in a new wave of success, and the Packers really haven't fell off too much from that since those days. It's been, almost 30 years now since Favre was traded for, and in those 30 years, the Packers have been, one of the best organizations in terms of success of any NFL team. They have 2 Super Bowls, they have numerous playoff wins. He really turned the franchise around, and if without him, the Packers would not be here as they are right now. So we owe a lot to Brett Favre and, of course, to Ron Wolf for trading for Brett Favre. So Brett Favre's certainly on there. Then I'd probably have to go, and this is in no order, by the way. I'm just listing 4 names off the top of my head that I think are the greatest Packers of all time. Number 2, I'd probably have to go Don Hudson. Well, not number 2 in a ranking. Like I said, I'm not ranking these guys, but Don Hudson would certainly have to be on this list as well. If you go back and look at this guy's statistical achievements, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this guy was catching 50 to 70 passes a year, really elite stuff, and there's in a league that hardly ever passed the football. I mean, the 30s and 40s, there was passing, of course, but it was very, very rare. And here we are with a guy who was putting up modern day receiving numbers. He had there was a season where he had 17 touchdown catches, and he set the record for most touchdown catches of all time, which was 99 or 100 or something. It took 30 or 40 years for someone to break that record. A lot of people probably thought it was the most unbreakable record in football. But, I mean, this guy, there was one season, I don't remember which one it was. It was probably in the early 40s or something, but he had 70, 80 receptions that year, and the next guy in line had 29 or 27, something like that. I don't remember what the player was or what year it was, but I just remember that, that's some story of someone telling me that, just to show how great he was and how dominant in his era was. If we're talking about pure dominance as a player, I don't think anyone, maybe in all pro sports, comes close to Don Hudson, so obviously Don Hudson's got to be on there. The next player I would probably say is Bart Starr. I mean, you got to have Bart Starr on your Mount Rushmore. If you're talking players only, I mean, the guy helped win 5 championships for the Packers. He's, the Captain America of the 1960s Packers. He was, the Golden Boy. Well, I guess they called Paul Hornung the Golden Boy, but still, I mean, his face is just associated with Packers' success, the Packers and success, and he was the engineer behind Lombardi's offenses. He was making everything work, and without him, the Packers certainly do not win those 5 championships in the 1960s. He is a guy who, I think God, I'm trying to think of what the statistic was. I think it was passer rating. He had 104 career playoff passer rating, and this is before the days where guys had high passer ratings. A good passer rating was probably 70s or something. Nowadays it's really average to even bad, but back then it was pretty good. And then you're talking about a guy who had a playoff passer rating 30 points higher than what would probably be the average passer rating for that day. So, I mean, he was extremely clutch, and, he had the greatest run in playoff history, the Ice Bowl sneak. Maybe not the greatest run in playoff history, but, one of the most famous plays, sneaking that ball. And it was all his idea, too, when he went up to Lombardi to talk about him. or to talk to him about how they're going to end the game, and he said, if I can get the right footing, I'm going to be able to go in and score. And Lombardi said, well, run it and let's get the hell out of here. So that's a famous story for that one. But definitely going to have Bart Starr on that as well if we're talking just players. And then finally, I'm going to pick Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did win the greatest Packers of all time tournament that I ran on Twitter a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if I would pick him to be the greatest Packer or not. You know, I would certainly say he's probably the most talented. Well, it'd be close between him and Don Hudson for sure, because Don Hudson was, doing stuff that nobody had done ever before and wouldn't do for a long time after him. So I guess I might pick Don Hudson over him in terms of pure talent. But I mean, you can't deny the amount of success Aaron Rodgers has had with the Packers. He's had 2 MVPs. He's All-Pro a couple times. He's been, consistently great. He's gotten this team to places that they never would have gotten without him. Yeah, he only has the 1 Super Bowl, but he could have a couple more if it weren't for the team around him failing in certain moments. But I would certainly have Aaron Rodgers on my greatest Packers of all time, Mount Rushmore, because he's just, he's been the quarterback for so long, and he's just been so consistently dominant. And like I said, his talent level, I mean, there are guys that just don't do anything like him, that we've maybe never seen do anything like him. I guess Patrick Mahomes would be an example, and even Brett Favre in some instances. But the way the guy avoids interceptions, is able to carry teams on his back, it's really, really impressive, and I would probably put him on my Packers Mount Rushmore. But those are my 4 for the Packers players only Mount Rushmore: Brett Favre, Don Hudson, Bart Starr, and Aaron Rodgers. Comment below what you would think the Packers Mount Rushmore would be, players only. You could also include all-time Packers, no matter what. And if I was actually making that list, I think I'd probably replace Rodgers and Starr with Lambeau and Lombardi. I'd have to think a little bit more about it, but off the top of my head right now, that's probably what it would be if it wasn't players only. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, ElberSport41512, and Instagram username Jake_Ober. And I'll see you guys next time. Go Pack, go.